Welcome to another episode of Local Focus. We're continuing with our trends of having quarterbacks as our guests. We're excited to. I have been accused in the past of being the voice of the La Cueva Bears. We've even been called the La Cueva Bears Broadcast Network. So we have La Cueva Bears quarterback Aidan Armenta in studio. Welcome, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I've been called a La Cueva homer before. Do you get that vibe sometimes when I'm broadcasting? I try to stay pretty neutral.
You know, I'm not going to complain about it. I think
Okay.
many times that you guys kind of root us on, that kind of thing.
yeah.
So I think that sounds awesome.
So we need to work on that. Okay,
Yeah.
we're trying to. My buddies from that side of the river, they give me a lot of crap about being a La Cueva. I'm like, I didn't go to La Cueva. I don't know where that comes from, so I don't know. All right, it has been a crazy summer for you. Let's start there. Like, the offer came from UNM, and you're going to camp, seems like every day, just spending your parents' money, just going from state to state to state. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. You know, just kind of get out there, compete against some other kids in the state. I mean, not only in the state, but in the country as a whole, and just compete against some other quarterbacks, see where you kind of stand, that kind of thing. I've been going to camp since I was really like in 7th grade, so I think just it's helped me every single year, just kind of staying active, that kind of thing, going out of the state and even competing against some of those better guys. But I think as a total, it was just a successful summer in total. So.
But it was a much more, you've been going to those camps for a long time, but it was much more publicized this summer, right? Like every stop was documented almost, so that had to be a little different.
Yeah, I think I had a lot more attention going into this summer. That was the biggest difference. So I think going into some of those mega camps, that kind of thing, having more interactions with some of those coaches was just awesome. Just kind of talk to some of those college guys like I haven't done yet. So I think that was the biggest thing. And then just kind of going into the UNM camp, those kind of things, and then finally getting that kind of attention was just awesome. Just kind of knowing that some of those schools wanted you to be a starter for the next 4 years and just thought you were good enough to play at the college level. I think that was just awesome.
What about, and I've had this conversation with other New Mexico football players, and when they go to these camps, is there that little bit of extra pressure, like, hey, I'm the New Mexico kid here, I got to prove something? Because it seems like for whatever reason, they don't think New Mexico kids can play. So you have that extra bit of pressure. Tell us about that. Is that a real thing?
Right. I think it actually kind of helps you out a little bit because they're kind of just marking you off, some of these kids. I mean, they're like, oh, you're from New Mexico. I'm from such and such, California, Texas, wherever, some of these powerhouse states. But so I think it's kind of awesome going to those camps, being the one New Mexico guy, and then all the coaches are like calling you New Mexico, that kind of thing. Right. So I think that's kind of awesome, just going in there, and then you kind of have that chip on your shoulder.
Added pressure?
Right. I don't even think it's pressure. I think pressure is kind of the privilege in those situations, and just going into those situations, you're kind of like, dang, like I could just show out for my state as a whole and just kind of show what we have talent out here.
And I mean, you see that obviously, right? You go to those camps and you're clearly holding your own, right? So, I mean, the misconception is like you have to be from California and Florida to play football, right? But that's not really the case, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't shy away from it. I think I can sling the ball with anybody in the country and that kind of thing. So, and I think a lot of the guys in New Mexico can, I mean, at a national level. So I think just getting on a bigger stage and showing that will just help New Mexico so much more. And if more of these guys go out to camps and keep showing what we've got out here, I think it's just going to help us out in the long run.
How do you, after this process though, all those camps, the offer from UNM, how do you continue to stay grounded and work and not, that can be a lot, right? Like to say, okay, spotlight is clearly on me now. I'm the guy. I'm La Cueva's QB1. I've been to all these camps. That can, I would imagine, create some undue mental anguish. So how do you stay grounded, just keep your nose to the ground and keep working?
Right. I think at a young age, my parents just instilled in me be the hardest worker in every single situation that you're in. So I think no matter what kind of pressure I'm put under or what kind of spotlight I'm put under, the work stays the same regardless. So I think just staying in the same schedule, doing the same kind of things every single day in and day out, regardless of what's going on with the team, regardless of what's going on at a state level or anything like that, I think just keeping the same kind of work and then preparing the same exact way regardless of what's going on.
Has anything changed, whether that be related to all these camps and all the spotlight, or whether it be something you learned at camp, maybe something you picked up along the way from a coach or one of the other guys? Has anything changed since going through this summer?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think just maturing is the biggest thing. I mean, going through all these camps, you're put into high-pressure situations all the time, making this throw, making that throw for 3 hours at a camp. I mean, that's as high pressure as it gets. So I think just going into that, and I think just maturing in that level and maturing as a quarterback, learning new things every single day. Because, I mean, regardless how good you think you are, if you're a 10-year NFL vet or, like I said, a 4-year high school starter, I mean, you can always learn new things and you always get better like all these guys in the NFL do every single day in and day out. So I think just trying to model my game after that.
You talked about modeling your game after other people, and what about, is there a natural rivalry within the quarterback community in New Mexico?
Right. I mean, I don't think so personally. Like
That makes for really boring TV.
Right. Yeah. I mean, of course you pay attention to what else is going on in New Mexico.
Right.
You pay attention to. I'd be lying if I didn't say like, oh, we're looking at these kind of passing yards from these guys, whatever. But at the end of the day, if we're winning games, I mean, I can't really complain. I don't care if I throw for 100 or 400 a night. If we win the ball game, then that's the biggest thing every single night.
So there's not like a quarterback group text, is what you're saying.
Right. No.
You guys are you guys friends at all? Do you guys kind of each stay in your own lane, or?
Yeah, I think I talked to a couple. I've gotten close with Paul and those kind of guys over the summer, like seeing him at the UNM camp and those kind of things. But I think just the biggest thing is competing. Like you're in the same position, so of course there's going to be competition. That breeds for competition. So I think just like in general, like those guys, of course the other one someone wants to be the best. Everybody wants to be the best, and if you're not, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Like I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't think I was the best quarterback in the state, because that's how I go into every single preparation day. That's how I go into every single game. Because if you don't have that mentality, then you're doing it the wrong way.
Right. Now we're getting to where I want to get to.
Right.
All right. So there's a little bit of a natural rivalry.
I mean, I think it's just the competitor inside all
So
of us.
let's just say hypothetically, if there was another quarterback that maybe had the same name, right? Like, is there a rivalry? Like, do you check out what he's doing, what Paul's doing, what Elliott's doing, what Elijah's doing?
I wouldn't say it's a checking out. I think it's
Okay.
just being a competitor and just wanting to be the best at every single thing you do, regardless of what industry or what job you're doing in life. I mean, I want to be the best at every single thing I do, and if I can have a chance to do that and I can help my teammates out by doing that, then that's all I can ask for.
Like, you walked in here, you saw my director, Josh, you saw his perm, right?
Right.
You saw his curls.
Right.
I'm sure you, like, because you're a curled guy, did you take some notice, like, oh, man, this guy's...
yeah,
this
might start modeling my
This
hair
guy's
after that.
perm,
Right.
like, I would imagine that's what the quarterback community is like too. You see what other guys are doing.
Right. I definitely take pride in my hair. I think that's one of the biggest
All right.
things.
Okay.
Not a perm for anybody that's
You're
asking.
already good at this media thing.
Yeah.
You're not giving me an inch on this question. You're already a pro.
Right.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more. I want to get into La Cueva football and its traditions when we get back with Aidan Armenta.
Bouncing into each other. I think Ella Chavez, the setter, was probably the one who should have had it. Oh, blocked up at the line and falls in perfectly. The Sartans.
Pushing it across is Petrie. Meyer once again, Echerivel. Baker gets it off the block to Meyer. Echerivel, this time she just pushes it. And that one, she was there, was Perea, but it went off the foot.
Inches in that goal. Sartans have possessed the ball in the offensive zone a lot in dangerous spots just like this. Devaney with another shot and another goal. Noah Devaney. To the back line. It's Maya Baca. Oh, what a cannon. Del Greco with authority from the front.
Still alive, pushing it where nobody is. Was number 10, Ella Lopez.
Passes make it last time. He's successful so far. He's looking, and what's the route there? As Garris is in for a touchdown. And you said they're going to go to that over and over again.
Yep. He had two options open there and a little post wheel on the left side. That the post was wide open as well.
Popped up, set, crush. But it's dug up. There's another one. That one's not going to be returned. That was just like meat right there. Just grabbed it, ripped it down. Was number 12, CC Vance. You don't want to make it that easy.
Curling ball towards the top, and it's in. Sandia Prep gets their first goal of the game. And it is a familiar face, Finnegan Saunders with the shot. This one's in. And it's actually Edgar Rios with the goal. 87th minute. Do it if they need to, but Spiegel will be the man back. Gets an end-over-end punt. It'll be taken at the 16-yard line. Going to buy some space out there, and there seems to be plenty. Dodges off one man. It's Isaiah Quintana. Quintana is going to the house. He will not be denied. Isaiah Quintana all the way from the 16-yard line, and Moriarty can tie this game up.
Back with La Cueva's Aidan Armenta. I want to talk about La Cueva football. I mean, being the QB1 at a place like La Cueva, that's a big deal, and it always traditionally has been. So talk about that a little bit, the football tradition at La Cueva.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to walk into campus every day and just know that football's a big deal. I mean, every time fall comes around and there's football games going on, the atmosphere is just different at school. I mean, La Cueva is I think it's the most special place in New Mexico to play football. Just the amount of special players that we've had over the years, and just the historically dominance that we've had. I think just over the years, that's just been awesome. And then to get a chance to actually put on a La Cueva uniform and just be with those kind of guys and be with that kind of talent every single day with the coaches and all that kind of thing. I mean, I think we have the best coaching staff in New Mexico and some of the best players in New Mexico every single year, regardless of what year it is. So I think that's just awesome. And then just having that historical dominance, like I talked about, having guys like Ronnie Daniels, those kind of guys coming through the program, and then a couple of guys on our staff like Coach Nee, those kind of guys that have been through that dominant state championship team in 2004. I mean, I think just La Cueva is just an awesome place just because of how historically dominant they've been.
And like, did you guys talk about that? I mean, I know there's another program in the state that prides themselves on that tradition, but like you guys have a lot more of it as far as years and stuff, right? So, but you guys don't seem to, you guys don't talk about it maybe as much as they do, but I imagine it's a huge deal.
Right. I think it's also just worrying about the next one. I mean, we're worried about the next state championship. We're not worried about the past ones. So building on that historical dominance, I think that's the biggest thing. So worrying about the 2022 state championship, the 2023, and the years that come after that, I think that's the biggest thing, and just making sure that we're the best program in New Mexico.
I can remember from my early days at Proview Networks doing Yaffle, and La Cueva has like 100 Yaffle teams too, right? And so like it starts there, right?
Yeah.
Like there's little La Cueva Bears running around. Were you in a Bears jersey that whole way up?
100%. Since I've been 7 years old. I mean, I always kind of lived in the El Dorado district, that kind of thing. My sister went to El Dorado. Some of my cousins went to El Dorado. But just every day seeing on Friday nights, watching La Cueva play, I mean, that's just where I knew I wanted to play, just because of how dominant in the brand of football that they played. But yeah, just playing Yaffle with those guys. I mean, most of the guys on the team, like Ian Sanchez, those kind of guys, Nassim Ali, Jack Lamone, some of the other receivers and that kind of thing, I played with since I was 7 years old in Yaffle. So I think that's just helped us out too, because we've just gotten better and better every single year. And honestly, it's just chemistry and just building that camaraderie with the guys every single year and just getting better and better.
And you guys are used to winning, right? Because I know the La Cueva, the Yaffle teams, they win at those younger levels. So that has to really kind of, you get to campus expecting to win, right?
Right. I think we had a tougher road than most. I mean, like I've talked about a lot of times with the guys, we had Exodus Ayers on our team. We used to battle with him all the time. Albuquerque High was awesome when we were in Yaffle, and we were always kind of this little brother to them, kind of going all the way into middle school, and then things kind of changed. We won the 7th and 8th grade Super Bowls, but I think just we never gave up, and just like we got better and better. Like I said, guys matured, and we stayed together was the biggest thing. We've had the same group of guys even now in high school since we were 7 years old, like I talked about. So
what about like when there's a defection? Because you guys, what were the Twins played for La Cueva, right? And then they went to that other school, the Eagles, right? So how does that happen when there's like a defection?
Yeah, I mean, I think
how do you go from being a Bear to an Eagle?
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Honestly, we tried recruiting those guys for the longest time to come to La Cueva, of course. But I think it's a new challenge too for some of those guys to step up, and it's kind of just awesome for like some of those better players at a younger age, and now to see some of the better players that weren't the better players at a younger age to just step up now and just see the guys they are now.
So as a quarterback, who have you thrown to the longest?
Ian Sanchez, for sure.
Since how old?
Oh, 7 years old. Yeah, just every single day throwing it after Yaffle practice.
So that helps, right?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, I don't think we can put a measurement to that, right?
No.
That you guys just kind of know each other there. What about, I mean, when you finally take that step and you're the starting quarterback, that's a big deal, right, at La Cueva. So talk about that. I mean, what went through your mind when you're like, all right, I'm the guy.
Right. I think definitely just kind of getting impatient sometimes because, I thought I could go in there and compete, honestly, as a freshman. I thought that my arm talent and that kind of thing, I thought I was good enough to go in there and compete as a freshman. Obviously, we had Austin Smith. He's an amazing quarterback, always is. He still stays around and comes to the practices, that kind of thing. So I have so much respect for him, and I've kind of just learned from him over the years, too, just how to be a leader and just how he approached the game in a sense, too. But then going to that sophomore year, I thought I had a really good chance, and then, of course, COVID hit.
Right.
So I think just being impatient, but I think all those years, it just kind of built me up for what I am now. And
La Cueva's always been one of those places that they're so good that maybe you kind of do have to wait your turn, right? Where at another school, you'd be playing sooner.
Yeah.
Have you learned to appreciate that a little bit, or still pretty like, hey, man, I could have played that year?
100%. I think definitely I could have played my sophomore year. I think that for sure. But I think any competitor wants to be on the field. You'd be lying if you said you didn't. But I think just it helps you so much because it helps you grow. It helps you learn how to go through adversity and how to go through those situations and just kind of better yourself out of those situations. Like, for example, in the sophomore year with COVID, that kind of thing, we were so ready to play that year. We had such a good team, I thought. Of course, the 0-3 year, it's not a good reflection of that. But we were so ready to play the work that we put in that off season, that kind of thing. And then, of course, you hit adversity like that, and it's just you got to find a way to battle back and kind of wait your turn too. Like some of those guys, we waited that whole COVID year, and then junior year we were ready to go, and I think it made us better for it.
Yeah, that's a program that I know Coach Back said, COVID disrupted a lot of things there because you had a really big junior class that year, so they became seniors, didn't have any junior film.
Right.
So I'm sure that was a very weird time at La Cueva.
Yeah, I think just not playing football too, kind of like I talked about how different it is in the atmosphere every single fall when football comes around and not having that. Not even being at school, it was just so different and just not the same La Cueva that we're used to.
Take another time out here. I do want to talk about what other sports you play and how young you started. And, of course, we're talking about La Cueva's brutal schedule throughout the season when we get back with Aidan Armenta.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Hi everyone, my name is Master Sergeant Jacob Groves. I am a Air Force Special Warfare Pararescueman. Air Force Special Warfare are proud supporters of Proview Network and New Mexico Youth Sports. Air Force Special Warfare operators are critical thinkers. They maintain a high level of fitness, they take initiative, and they don't quit. For more information on Air Force Special Warfare, contact me at the number listed below.
U.S. Air Force Special Warfare are proud supporters of Proview Sports.
Rudy's is a proud supporter.
Back with La Cueva quarterback Aidan Armenta. Quarterbacking not the only thing you do, though, right? So speaking of another very tradition-rich program, probably even more so, right? La Cueva baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I mean, that is just the royalty when it comes to baseball. So you play baseball as well. What other sports did you play as a child, and when did they all start?
Yeah, I played basketball and baseball all the way up into, like, basketball for sure, all the way my whole middle school years, that kind of thing. But I think obviously just kind of learning basketball is not going to be my thing. So I think just picking up baseball and football, and I've been playing baseball and football since I was 7, and then baseball since I was 5. Baseball the longest, and that was kind of my first love. My dad played at the University of Nebraska, played baseball there, and then got drafted by the Padres out of high school. So I think I always had a deep love for baseball, and that was always kind of my first sport. And then kind of realizing how good you are at football, then that kind of switches things a little bit. But
not that you're that bad at baseball,
right?
Either, right? So,
right.
So that's got to be pretty cool. I mean, how do you? But man, I mean, the off season, what does that look like? I mean, it seems like you're putting so much in football, and then you just walk on the field like that and are natural at baseball, or what is the work that goes into that?
It's tough to balance things for sure, but I think just finding time to go hit with other guys on the team, like Jackson Ming, those kind of guys that I've hit with in the past, and I think just kind of balancing things like that and just finding a way to balance both, because of course I'm football dominant like I've talked about, but also just finding times to make sure that I'm staying adequate with my baseball, that kind of thing, and getting the right time in for that.
Have the two helped each other? I mean, how do they help each other? How do those skill sets help? How do those preparations help each other?
I think baseball's for sure. As you can see with a lot of the NFL guys, I think baseball just helps with arm strength so much. All those guys that played baseball, Jameis Winston, some of those other guys, just arm strength is like unmatched with those guys that play baseball. So I think that's helped me the most. And then baseball-wise, I think it's just handling adversity and just playing a team sport, and regardless of it, even though baseball is sometimes individual-based, I think just making sure that we're playing as a team and that kind of thing, both those sports have just helped me a lot.
Talk about your dad playing baseball. So what are those, pretty athletic family? Tell us about that whole family background of athletics and kind of the support system that you have in place.
Right, yeah, my dad played baseball in Bloomfield. My mom went there too, and she was on the dance team, so definitely have a pretty athletic parents. But then my sister actually played softball, basketball, and then volleyball her freshman and sophomore year over there at El Dorado, which was hard to watch, of course, El Dorado. But
the rivalry is real. I love it.
Yeah. But so yeah, then definitely so athletic. I mean, always competing, that kind of thing. Had some tough stuff with my sister. Of course, getting into fights like that kind of thing when you're younger. Of course, she kind of bullied me around a little bit. I was a smaller guy when I was younger. So, but yeah, I definitely came from an athletic family. And then my uncles and that kind of stuff, just always played baseball, that kind of thing. So definitely coming from an athletic family.
So what is that going to look like when you make that decision? Obviously, you have a support system in place here. Have you guys talked about when it comes time to make a decision, what will that look like?
I mean, yeah, I have a good sports staff behind me, but I think just the biggest thing is just staying grounded and staying true to what you think is the best decision for yourself at the end of the day, and just kind of relying back on all your work and that kind of thing and how far it's gotten you, and just being appreciative of how far you've gotten.
Right. We talked about the Lobo offer a little earlier, but when that came, take us through that week and kind of how all that came about.
Right. Definitely a dream come true. I mean, from the get-go, I've watched Nebraska football. Like I talked about, my dad went to Nebraska, so that's where my love for football came from, just waking up on Saturday mornings and watching Nebraska football every single Saturday. But yeah, I knew someday that's what I wanted to be, was a Division I football player. And then just finally getting that opportunity from Coach Gonzalez and the rest of the staff, and just knowing that, like I said, someone wants you to be their starter for the next 4 years and wants you to be their guy. I mean, just having that kind of instilled in you is so like it just lets you know about all the work that you've done. Is finally came to fruition a little bit. So I think that's the biggest thing, and just finally that day came. I mean, you're waiting for so long, kind of the impatience with it. But I think just finally when that day came, it was just kind of a dream come true.
Tell me, telephone, was it in his office? How did it all take place?
Yeah, so it was during the 3-day camp.
Okay.
Me and 2 other guys, Mason Posa and then Colt Mangino, we were the only La Cueva guys that went. So we were the only team with an individual roster for 7-on-7 and stuff. So we were playing Cleveland, a couple other teams with just individual guys, a couple guys from Texas. So on the second day, we had been dominating the 7-on-7 with just a bunch of individual guys. But on the second day, he pulled me aside and it was just kind of like, the Lobos want to offer you, that kind of thing. And I mean, it was just awesome getting an offer from your hometown school and just playing in front of and just getting an opportunity to play in front of the place that you've grew up your whole entire life, and you just know how special it is. I think that was just even more special.
How many times has Colt replayed that week 1 hit that he just delivered. That was just, I mean, that is one of the hardest hits I've seen.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that on replay on his phone?
Oh yeah, I was watching film actually on the sideline, and I looked up for half a second, and I just saw the guy's paint shatter off his helmet, and I was like, good God. But I mean, it's nothing new. That guy shatters people's helmets.
But he's probably walking around campus, right?
Yeah.
Showing
I
people
think
the phone
he probably just posted a TikTok today
Right.
about it, of course. But yeah, he wrecks people during practice. Even he has that ability. He's just all over the field. So I think he's just got that special ability. And it wasn't like it was anything special to us.
Right.
We've seen that every day at practice. So
You know, we talked about the Lobo thing, and you made a point about it being a dream and everything. And we talked about this last week with Elijah Brody. You know, it's gotten to a point now with Coach Gonzalez here where you guys want to stay home. Like,
Right.
This is a destination now, right? And that wasn't always the case. Talk about how Coach Gonzalez has made this a special place again for you guys.
yeah, I think his value into recruiting New Mexico guys and showing that, yeah, we do have talent here and that kind of thing, I think just put value into playing at the University of New Mexico because it hasn't been there in the past. So him just instilling value into the New Mexico kids and showing that, yeah, we're going to trust in you if you trust in me and that kind of thing, I think that's been the biggest thing. And just him believing in us in a sense too. I think that's just wanted kids to play here because, I mean, we don't get that many opportunities. And for a guy to believe in you like that, I mean, that goes a long way.
Let's talk about your schedule with the little remaining time that we have left. Your non-district schedule, just brutal. There is no off week this week for you guys, or this year, I should say. I mean, when you looked at the schedule when it first came out and you saw Rio Rancho, Cleveland, Centennial, Volcano, you saw that schedule, did your eyes light up?
Of course. I mean, I was like, let's go. I mean, last year we got a couple of games where it's like, geez, can this just be over with? We're done by the second quarter, that kind of thing. So, I mean, of course, when I looked at the
You don't get anything out of those games, right?
No.
I mean, not only you feel bad for the other team from a viewer's point, right? But you guys don't gain from those. You guys don't gain anything from a 50-0 win, do you?
Right. I mean, and especially starting off with Rio Rancho like we did. I mean, just the revenge game kind of in a sense, people have made it out to be like that. But I think just those first 5 games just meant so much regardless of if we had prior matchups or whatever. I think just those 5 teams being so impressive the year before and then them being high in the polls, that just made those games so much more special. And I think we want to play in big games. I mean, big players always want to play in big games and show out. I mean, of course, like you guys, we want you guys to be calling our games. That means it's a big game that week. So I think just that was awesome. I mean, just being in those situations, and I think we're just ready for what's to come.
Well, good luck the rest of the way. I know you have the rare. You could pull a double this year, right? I mean, it's always possible
Right.
when it's La Cueva football and La Cueva baseball, right?
Right.
You ever think about that?
Yeah, I think that just shows how special the place is. I mean, being at La Cueva, being dominant at every single sport that you play, and having a chance at a state championship, nothing rivals it. So,
Right. I know we'll be watching. Thanks for coming in. Thank you for
Appreciate it.
watching, everybody, and good night.